You right? It's
Harrison Stream.
a fight about it. How are we doing? This is Fragments, episode 14 of Fragments, our weekly Demiplanes of Dread campaign, minus one Hazim. It is Mrs. Hazim's birthday, so they're celebrating that, and we wish her a happy birthday. And Hazim will be back with us next week. So kind of a slower night tonight, a quieter night, ladies' night. Vanessa and Whisper. I'm going to throw them straight into combat. If you want to go around, say who you are, who you're playing tonight, and then I think I will call on Luca to give tonight's recap as well.
I am Jack, and I'm playing Vanessa Lucidia.
I am Luke Locke, and I am playing Whisper. You want me to launch right into what happened? Or?
Yeah, but also after saying that, the Mad Cartographer has put in the Twitch chat, looks around awkwardly. They're obviously watching a film shortly or something. Okay, take us away, Luca Locke.
So last time we were heading back, having fought that weird creature that was looking for a talisman from us. And we were headed back to the fort, and we had a whole lot of debate about whether to actually go back to the fort or to go on, and just basically make our escape, possibly heading north to Silvervoss, which is like the outcast camp. We decided to bury our stuff, stop in at the fort, and they're like, hey, guess what? We need you to go to Silvervoss. So that worked out well. Apparently, Dennis, the local innkeep, his son has gone missing. Don't know what that could be about. He is suspected of desertion. So, for whatever strange reason, Falkovnia, this fort, wants to turn a single loss into two and kill Dennis for his son disappearing. Because apparently they just have unlimited number of people that aren't zombies, and they don't mind just wasting
Just breathe
lives.
like rabbits.
So in an attempt to, we've been voluntold and are willing to go to Silvervoss to search for this K-Head, Dennis's son, see if he's there. No doubt that we'll find him. And
He's probably just a deserter now, so
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I still maintain that maybe he was eaten by those owlbears, but so we are walking along. We come across some beautiful open fields, and happen to stop for a bit of silflay, which is eating outside in the open air. And we have a little bit of a picnic, and then continue on to where there is a large tree falling across the trail suspiciously.
You heard the tree come down.
Did we? Okay. Yeah. Well, a tree fell in the forest. We were there to see it and to hear it. And then there were bandits that showed up, popped out of the ground like daisies, wanting to rob us for everything we were worth. It seemed that they were robbing in an attempt to just sustain their own number at their camp, so we managed to convince them that we would instead just help them, and please do not rob us, sir. So they have taken us to their camp, Silvervoss, and we are there now, where they are having us wait so that some big head honcho can come give us a glance over and make sure we're not up to no good. And also I think I inquired about their sick and injured that they seemed to have a number of. So yeah, I feel like that's about where we left off. Yeah?
Okay, yeah, I think so. Can you remember what the head honcho's name was?
You'd think I would be able to, since we're literally just talking about it, but no.
It's like the most heavy metal name.
Bruce Dickinson.
Zombie.
Yeah.
No, the
Great.
Ghoul
No.
Ripper.
Ghoul Ripper. I was gonna say Gravedigger. I don't know why. Okay, Ghoul
And
Ripper.
for a friend of mine who messaged me throughout the week, just to clarify, that is Ripper, as in to rip. He is a Ghoul Ripper. I'll tell you later. But this person, if you remember, had the full facial tattoo of a Talon officer as well, but was somewhat of a dishevelled figure. Good, yes, you may have 1 inspiration. It's also been a while since it happened. Vanessa, if you would like a point of inspiration too, feel free to tell us what actually happened to Caleb.
I only have one amendment to make to what you just said. The most heavy metal name is actually Lemmy Killmeister, but totally fine. I hear you're correct about
that's
it.
fine, yeah.
Yeah.
My
But,
English teacher had a close affiliation with him.
Oh, nice. Oh. So for those who don't know, Kebab, Kahab, well, Kebab, because he's really just food, had a rather intimate night out with our lovely Lady Vanessa, and in the process was devoured. Where his remains are, who knows? You know, maybe in the big pen.
You and me.
But yeah, no. I mean, you know, this is no one's business but ours.
Okay, yeah, you may both have 1 inspiration.
I have applied it,
Oh,
and
excellent.
we'll probably have to use it very soon.
Okay, then I will take us through to the shack, which we ended last session in. Make sure I'm on the right one. Yep.
Now, was this space like as fully like decorated as this?
Yeah, I feel like we were in some shitty tent. Not.
You weren't in tents. You were brought to this place, and it was pretty crummy.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we?
Okay.
Well,
I
and
know
are we
any
in
of
front of the Ghoul Ripper, or are we waiting to see him? Or them?
He had been brought in, or rather came in, and this is what he looked like. Where are we?
All right.
And you see there were
And a Lance Henriksen thing going on.
just adjust that music. So yeah, you've been talking. He had looked across you all and had sort of confirmed that he did not recognise you from Morfenzi, particularly you, Vanessa. All of the explanations and excuses you'd given when you were confronted with him had to be weighed against the fact that you were wearing Morfenzi attire. So that led to a lot of suspicion. But the Ghoul Ripper sort of looks across the companions and says, "You can stand down." And weapons are slightly lowered. Hazim falls quiet and drifts back to a corner.
Well, it's lovely to meet you, Mr. Ripper. Or is it one word? Ghoul Ripper?
He sort of just chuckles a little bit. Skender. But Ghoul Ripper to most. Sort
Well,
of
what would you prefer us to call you?
Ghoul Ripper. Most wouldn't know me by Skender. A name, a nickname, a title, an alias. Much easier, much catchier, flows when you are a true born of Falkovnia. And there's a bit of a loud chuckle around the room.
Yes, I imagine a name like that gets you in many places and keeps you out of many others.
Not anymore. Keeps me out of almost all the places.
Well,
They've
What
said
is
that.
it that you?
Oh, go on.
What is
Luca.
it that you do here, Ghoul River?
Steal, mostly. Take what we can from the Talons and from Drakov's men. Move when we have to, which is often. Feed our children. Stay alive. And at the start of every month, try to go to ground as best we can and wait it out.
You do not fight the undead.
No, we fight the undead. But also, we have to fight against Drakov.
yes, she doesn't seem to take kindly to bandits. Or, as she claims you are.
Yes. By definition, we are through and through. We harry travelers on the road, we steal, we take what is theirs. We very often kill them, in the case of Talons. The difference is we would not sneak into Lekar at night and put children to the torch.
Did you happen
that-
upon... Oh, go on, Whisper.
Is that something that has happened here?
Countless times. We are exiles, deserters, those who have questioned the regimes here, Drakov's sanity. It is to flee or to be impaled.
Did you happen upon a particular traveler, young man, shocking red hair, nicely built, might have been carrying around an instrument of some kind, a lute, perhaps?
No. You ever snuck through here? Well, first of all, how recently?
A few days ago.
No. In that case, no. You're the first to travel in this direction in over a week.
Beyond just the undead, is there anything else between here and the fort that is it's dangerous? Any kind of beasts, creatures?
Gondagal might get you. I know you spoke about them with son of mine. The undead, yes. Non-undead, very rare. The occasional bear, but it's not too many. We stay clear of Dekovan, across the lake. No one who goes there returns. Other than that, between here and Willow Watch, the road is fairly simple unless the undead stagger on.
Can you tell us more of this Gondagal? We were led to believe that he was in charge here.
No. I believe you were talking to Rekis about this a little. On your walk here, so she tells me. Gondagal is no friend to us. Gondagal is a trick. An agent of Drakov. If your faith is tested, if you've been whispering to the wrong people, along comes a fantastic offer to betray Drakov entirely. Many take it. Never seen again. No doubt on a spike above Lekar.
What makes you think this? What proof do you have that this is a trick by Drakov, besides people going missing?
Because I have known good, loyal people who would never otherwise flee, go to Gondagirl, or go with Gondagirl, for good, honest, selfless reasons to help others, etc. Vanish. One of my best, he swore he would go purely to find out what happened and report back if there was any way. Never seen again. It is a trick.
And maybe that, or things changed when he actually got there. Maybe the grass was greener.
Very trusting. We can't afford to. Look how we're forced to live.
I was told that there were sick
There
and
are.
injured here.
There are starving. There are exhausted. Children who are unable to get a full night's sleep. Every night it is beyond dead or torches in the distance. We cannot light fires. We sneak around like rats. It wears the body, but even more it wears the soul. Some of these children, they reach a point where, to look at them, they're healthy beyond being hungry. But chased and harried and hunted all day every day, their bodies they just give up.
I would like to see to them if I could.
Based on what qualification? They say you are a healer, but
Yes, that is the qualification.
Do you need proof?
to let 3 strangers into a room with almost vulnerable children and injured? Yes. I need proof, for their sake.
This is when Vanessa turns to whisper and whispers. How much do you have? How much power do you have right now?
Enough. And like mechanically speaking, I could do first aid very easily, where I use my hit dice on someone that needs it.
Okay, yeah.
Across the table, I was going to say that Vanessa was actually going to do something like a demonstration, but I don't want to like waste a healing word or something like that. If you want to just use
it's just a cantrip, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then yeah, Vanessa rolls up her sleeve, still keeping her glove on, and she pulls out her dagger and slices herself across the forearm.
Just collective sort of discomfort of just...
If you don't mind, whisper.
Yes, of course. And I will just come over and put my paw on your arm and cast first aid.
If I had been a wand, like, oh, God's sake. They were like, I don't really see anything. No, not letting you near our kids. And yeah, describe what your first aid... Well, it's kind of a collaborative effort, isn't it? Tell me what the healing process looks like.
Because it's my actual hit dice being used, it would look almost as if for a second light, like almost like luminescence or like color of my skin it dims for a second and makes the other person look brighter, more vibrant, before us both kind of fading back to normal status.
Anything from you, Vanessa?
I'd say that once she removes her paw, that there's still like the outline of blood, but the wound itself is just a minor scar.
Yeah, and you see them all sort of step in a little bit. Ghoul Ripper sort of leans right forward, sort of takes me, reaches out a finger and looks at you, Vanessa, as like, if I may.
Go for it.
And he just sort of traces a finger down it in a very, very. It's not a little gentle touch. It's very much a just sort of checking. Yeah. Like, how is it you can do that?
I am blessed by my God. He's the god of the sun. And
for brevity's sake, we'll say you have to explain what a god is again.
Yep.
Unless you like to play that out, but there's a general.
I will explain that he is the sun and he made the world.
Yeah.
And he looks favorably upon me and my people because of a promise ages ago.
And they seem very impressed. And do you also have these talents? Or are you her protector?
No, not her talents, and it isn't that she needs protection, but I am her traveling companion.
Yes. Come. And they open the door, and a band of them heads out, walking through Silbervass, which I'll now show you. It is very much, just to remind you, I showed you last time this splash screen, Silbervass, a ramshackle town. Many of the buildings, they're a mixture. Boarded, burned out, seemingly just fallen slightly to ruin. There is a ruined stone keep in the background, very similar to what is functional in the guardhouse in Fort Wotton, only larger, grander. You can tell that. Fort Wotton is clearly an outpost. Looking around this place, it was clearly at some point a town. Yeah, this was a decent Curse of Strahd comparison. Village of Barovia, whereas Fort Wotton would be like the Valaki Vistani camp in sort of size. You make me perception checks, both of you.
Hold on, I had to reload because the page wasn't. But also, if you want to roll it for me.
Yeah, I will roll it for you.
With a 14, that's 15 for Vanessa.
Cool. And whisper percepzione. Oh, that was very nearly a dirty like 23 and 16. A couple of observations that you both make walking around through this town, and then we'll cut to any conversation you want to have. You notice a complete absence of any sort of chimney smoke. This is not an active town. There are no horses hitched. There is no produce in the street. This appears to be abandoned, despite for all intents and purposes. Any conversation that happens when you're walking through a town by the gang that you're with is extremely low, just not much higher than a whisper or a mutter. They're talking so quietly that we probably won't be able to do it, or our microphones won't pick it up. With the noise cancer, everyone is very much the hush hush voice. Everyone seems very on guard. Hands do not come off weapons. And the town clearly has what was a main road. You know that the road from Fort Watton to Lekar runs directly through this town. As you walk, you are very much taken the side roads and back alleys. There is an aversion to the main road through this town. But yeah, as you're walking, a couple of members of the group sort of peel off and go about their own business and give explanations if they're going to their families or to perform tasks, and the group dwindles a little bit until it's yourselves, Ghoul Ripper, and about 2 others. And yeah, you're just walking along, heading in the vague direction of this keep.
Does it look as crumbled as this very clearly
Yeah.
not Thunder Tree ruins?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Are we being gawked at or anything like that, or is it just...
There's not many people around. You see the occasional sort of glance out of a window, and there's the interest, but strangers are being escorted around by guards and the Ghoul Ripper. You and Hazim draw your usual looks of curiosity.
Okay.
And Ghoul
Are
Ripper
they
is like,
reacting to Vanessa doll in the Morfenzi gear?
I would say that is a curiosity that is on par, on tallies of the fact that you're being escorted. They would be safe to assume maybe people might make the assumption that, oh look, they've captured a guard, they've captured a Morfenzi agent or something like that. But then they're also like, is that a fucking fox? Just like it's one of them. Yeah, and Ghoul Ripper, keep your voices down whilst we're outside. We
Was
don't,
it the undead or other reasons?
because of the undead, because if Drakov's talons are doing any sort of sweep of the town or staking us out, if they have a raid planned, or if any errant officer just fancies killing a few of us today, we don't want to draw attention. We stay clear of the road in case they're riding through. We go to the back streets. We keep quiet.
How often do
Understood.
these raids happen?
Sometimes several times a week. More often at the shift change. If the mad dog is changing shift, as she soon will be, we will be going to ground when she passes through.
When was the last raid?
Just under 2 weeks ago.
The Mad Dog.
One of Drakov's lieutenants. She's currently down at the fort.
The redhead.
Yes. My men took you for her at a distance.
I wouldn't say I'm that unwashed, but yes, she is. She's quite the handful.
You're saying at her shift change, she is called back and someone else is sent out to the fort?
Yes. They change shifts. The road to Lekka passes through Silberbas. And she will take a day's leisure with a group of her most devoted, and we'll make a little sport. I will die very happy, even under a pile of undead, if I manage to gut that bitch.
I believe you would be doing many a favor.
Finesse looks like to speak.
No, she just kind of glances over at Whisper, almost surprised at the kind of venom she has in her words.
You have not, she's not endeared herself to you, then?
No, I believe she is sick, unwell. She has what my people would call a sort of a war sickness that infects and can spread to others. You'll see it in animals occasionally. They froth at the mouth. It is different in people, but still very much the same.
Tell me of this place you have come from. You've come from where the rat came from, yes? Varajunel.
Oh,
I don't know if we did.
I'm unsure of where they came from.
Beyond the mists.
Well, there's a lot beyond the mists, and I don't think all of it is the same. Whisper and I and Hazim came from the same plane, but this person that you speak of, they may have come from elsewhere, somewhere we haven't even been to.
I thought you'd maybe have some commonality between you.
It is
Other than that,
possible,
we're-
but we do not know.
Yeah, other than the fact that we are all fish out of water, for lack of a better term, I'm not certain we have much in common beyond that.
I see. And what are your plans after you have ascertained that this boy of yours was not here? Will you continue
We're
on
not
to
sure
Lecco?
yet.
Very well. And yeah, he continues leading you up via a bit of a roundabout route until you start going uphill. It is not raining, despite the art you are about to see. Ah, but I still have token vision set to it, I believe. One moment. There we go. Oh, I also forgot to show you. I apologise. I apologise. The map. There is a map of Silvas that I will show you.
Oh, you're making it so mad.
I'm making it so what?
Foundry's getting so mad at me.
Oh, what, loading more than one thing?
Yeah.
So yeah, this is sort of a reflection of the size of Silvervas. You were making your way down to this keep from here, but you effectively took sort of back roads and cut through buildings and took a very long way, only dipping over the main road at the last possible minute. An inaccuracy on this map, there are not all of these side branches. You're heading north. We're going to say that to the left is south, and you've been riding right north up towards. So it's flipped 90 degrees. But yeah, you've been making your way around, and you would have seen that the fields are spoiled and unmaintained. The gatehouses burned in some cases and ruined. This is not a well-maintained town in any sense. But yeah, sorry to annoy your foundry once more. But yeah, you come to the ruins of a keep. There are a couple of guards, for lack of a better word. They look to be bandits, but some of them can take. Why are we grinning so much? Are you just recognizing it all?
Yeah, no, I've just stormed this castle so many times. Because it's Cragmont Keep, but yeah okay.
You see a couple of even the guards here are hiding. The guards, peek around corners and pop heads out. And there's a moment where Ghoul Ripper, beginning to approach the keep, just gives what's clearly a bit of a signal whistle, and there's a quick whistle back, and a couple of guards pop their heads out, and you are ushered in to a heavily ruined keep. Rubble strewn from the ceiling, hung at some point. There are parts where entire walls and door frames have been torn out, and they've made best they can do. There are like tapestries that have been repurposed and hanging as dividers, sort of cordon off areas. A lot of just bedrolls in open areas. You see a couple of fires, but they are all out currently. There are no fires lit. And although it has been a warm day, day's getting on a little bit. And you do see more than one person who's slightly more bundled and sort of rubbing themselves. You would hear more than one mention or mutter that it will soon be nightfall, and they'll be able to light a couple of modest fires then. But yeah, what are you both doing as you're being led through this modest keep?
Honestly, I feel like I'm looking around a lot, just trying to take in as much detail as possible.
Same.
But act not so much like I'm just intently scanning everything I see.
Both of you make me perception checks.
Okay.
It's a 5.
5. That's. Does
17.
does that become a 6 for you? Does it, Vanessa?
No, it was a 4 total plus 1.
Okay. 17. Looking around you as you're led through, and there's a little bit of idle talk, and a bit of a tour being given. You're sort of shown where certain things are, where privy areas are, and so on. You see that everyone's very hungry. Everyone is exhausted and, in a lot of cases, cold. You haven't seen any children yet. The youngest person you've seen is maybe 13, 14. She's basically like a grown woman by Barovian standards in terms of her the expectation of her to contribute to like the defense. You see ruined, battered equipment, badly organized piles of boxes and crates. This is very much, they've taken what they can find and are stacking and hoarding it. People seem to be run down, but treating each other well. You see, like, several small acts of, like, generosity and care given as you're walking through. It is quite unlike a lot of the attitudes that you've seen in Fort Watton and how you've heard Drakov's regime is anyway. You would also have seen, as shortly after you entered, a plinth that had enough short leg that clearly there was a statue here at some point, but it seems to have been torn down.
And would we
Like this?
Would we be able to guess that it was like a statue of Drakov based on
Yeah, I would say so.
any kind of...
I would say so.
Yeah. I am going to just look at Ghoul Ripper and say, is this where you are able to retreat to most when being raided? Or do they get in here as well?
There is nowhere they don't get. It depends on how many they're willing to send. We escape when we can. There are escape tunnels out of here. All depends on when, and how bored they are, and how many they send. This is the most defensible, but we will never, with our numbers and their numbers, be able to engage them directly.
And where do you keep these children? I have seen none about.
We're getting there. It's just sort of like leading you through the keep, and you'll come to not a room that is outright guarded, but you'll see it is in a. It just happens to be in a more densely populated area. It isn't like, there's no halberd wielders that cross over outside. It's just naturally a heavy traffic sort of area, deeper in the keep. And you'll see that. What was your roll? 17. You see that people straighten up a little bit when Ghoul Ripper is coming. Both of you make me an insight check, please.
Oh, come on. Weird.
Weird. What's up?
Because the dice showed that I rolled 9, but it's saying in chat that I just rolled a 6.
For me, it says that you rolled a 6 plus 1 plus 2 for a total of 9.
Yeah, I'm just saying maybe I was misreading the dice, but it looked weird because I thought I rolled a 9. But whatever.
Was it upside down?
Yeah, maybe.
Usually
as
there's
I was
like a
talking,
line
I
or
was
a
like,
dot.
oh wait. Yeah, I probably just missed the dot. But yeah.
With a 14, yeah, people straighten up and sort of go out of their way. You see people try and get some sort of like acknowledgement or moment with the Ghoul Ripper, and you get the impression that although people might not be overly chatty here, it's not so much that he's feared the way that Irina has been commanding attention, but it is more that he's very respected and liked, even if people aren't very, very chummy with him. It's more Maximus with the guards at the front than it is Commodus with the people back in Rome. He's you haven't watched his Gladiator reference lost on you. This campaign is over. Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie in like 15 years. Okay.
Yeah, same. I saw it when it came out.
When I was 13, I sat through the whole thing at a French holiday site in French just to see if he did actually say "Je m'appelle Gladiator," which he did, just in case you were wondering. But yeah, Ghoul Ripper is respected and is liked by everybody. Great reference, DM. Okay, thank you for Mad Cartographer, who isn't here and playing today. Eventually, you get to a room in the back of a keep, and you go in. Ghoul Ripper goes in first with 2 of the guards, and you go into a bit of a hall. The floor lined, piled with skins and furs. There are a few bedrolls in here. It looks like it was probably a bit of a hall or like a grand bedroom back when the keep was originally built. It kind of puts you in mind slightly of that room with the enormous meeting table in the overgrown guardhouse in the forest. There are maybe 10, 12 children and young adults in here who are almost all bedridden. A couple are sort of sat at the table, picking at meager rations or trying to read what's left of a book. They themselves look to have more sort of heavy physical injuries than anything else. You see one of them with what looks to be a compound fracture on their arm, which is not healing well. And although they're not sort of lying there debilitated, they are not fit to be out doing anything else. A couple of adults in here who, just from casting an eye around the room, you quickly get the impression are parents or loved ones of specific children who are, in there caring for them. And just a sort of quiet falls across the room as everyone turns to look at these very unusual new arrivals and the Ghoul Ripper himself.
I am just going to kind of walk from bed to bed, glancing over the sick and injured here. I'm not doing any sort of bedside manner thing. I really am just walking over and assessing the unwell.
Maybe medicine check.
Okay.
With advantage. While you're doing this, what's the nest doing? I imagine that takes a few minutes for you to go around and maybe you have to make introductions a couple of times and things like that. What's the nest choosing to do?
Vanessa's keeping back. She's letting Whisper take lead in this, but she is looking around, flexing her hands at her side. All these injured people. Who among them might be missed the least?
Christmas eyes. If I had my soundboard on at the moment, I would play the sound of realization. Okay, yeah. What was the result of your medicine check in the meantime? 14. Make me a perception check, Vanessa, while I'm going through. Sorry, an insight check while I'm going through talk about. So yeah, looking around, Whisper, you identify a few obvious injuries, badly rolled ankles, or a dislocated limb, a cut that is just not healing properly and is infected, and a couple of them have the more, the later stages of infection, where what was probably just getting cut or scratching a nail clambering through a broken doorway quickly has now turned into almost half an arm that is dark green and weeping. You find several cases of what you very, very quickly identify as just absolute exhaustion. And very possibly just a complete lack of hope, a low quality of life, just constantly fleeing. So yeah, physical and mental maladies just abound.
Okay. Given the numbers that you gave me, I would like to kind of pick a side of the room. I will be staying silent for up to 10 minutes.
Okay.
At which point I will cast Prayer of Healing before moving to the next side of the room and doing it again.
What's the range on Prayer of Healing?
6 people.
Oh, sorry. Okay, 6 individuals.
30 feet, but
but a limit of 6. That makes sense. So, yeah. Tell us what your ritual looks like as you're doing this. It'll be a 10-minute thing.
Yeah. So, if it's mostly I will just sit on the ground, and it looks like I am praying, but were anyone to listen very closely, get close and listen, it will sound a lot like I am repeating a creation myth that I believe Hazim and Vanessa have heard already.
Yeah.
Um,
You cast it in the spider's den, I believe, out of sheer necessity.
yeah.
You also
But
might
it'll
cast
start,
it
you
at
know,
the
like just
Watchtower,
very.
too.
I think so.
Yeah.
But I also before we were even through the mists, I told the creation myth, I think.
Yeah, you
to
did.
Hazim.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you did.
But yeah, it'll just be me like long ago Frith made the world, and I will just like go through the story of when this sun god originally promised what they promised to my people, and then I will cast Prayer of Healing, and then after I do that, I will go around and check on the people that received that, just making sure to inspect everything and see how they're doing, and then I will go and repeat the process on the other side of the room.
Yeah. You find there are a few sort of like grunts and cries of sort of shock or pain as the spell completes, as you know, maybe a dislocated joint abruptly resets and things like that. It's like a collection of cries. At the moment your spell just sort of peels, the guards have a moment. It was a moment of not quite weapon reaching, but like alarm. But then it is immediately apparent on some of them, like, you know, an ankle that bent the wrong way is suddenly fine. Those that had the exhaustion of just being hunted, they don't seem immediately cured, but you can see on them they look less. The physical signs of exhaustion definitely look lessened. Maybe the rest of the healing will come with time. They certainly seem more comfortable and less immediately ruined. So yeah, you already take that off, and you're just going to repeat it on the other room, are you? On the other side of the room.
Yep.
In the meantime, Vanessa, looking around, you do identify one girl of maybe 9 or 10, short, messy red hair. The guards, a couple of the, almost all the kids have loved ones with them, or if not, like a loved one who's look after this child will tend to the other. There's one kid who, although certainly not like neglected, just doesn't seem to have the quite so active attentions of an adult. And at one point, as he's sort of just looking around, this child was sort of maybe nothing else to do. Sort of catches your eye and just gives you a bit of like a meek smile for a moment.
Yeah, Vanessa catches her eye, and she smiles back, but there's this weight behind the smile that is unsettling to even Vanessa, as she feels kind of like twitching in her palms, and she puts her hands behind her back and does her best to turn back towards Whisper as she's reciting the story. But she keeps catching glances back, and at one point, almost involuntarily, she just waves, and then immediately brings her arm back down.
And you get a bit of like a look, is it someone else sort of thing from her, and then a bit of a more genuine smile on her.
Yeah. Vanessa smiles back and then turns back towards Whisper.
Yeah, and Whisper's spell concludes. There is another, the similar collection of immediate physical relief and the physical aspects of some of the more exhausted children and teens. With a little bit of giggling in the room between kids. A couple of the adults look. It's one of those things. It's kind of like awkward territory to approach over the table when, in a world where there is no magic in Falkovnia, they have just probably witnessed stuff that's on miracle level healing of their children who have been exhausted and heavily injured. Someone's just wandered in and gone like, nah, and in the space of 20 minutes, a huge amount of physical and emotional healing has just been done. So there's more than one tearful parent, and all three of you in Hazim's absence, because he would have had things to say during this. I'm sure he would have been telling a story for kids. Maybe he'll probably tell me in chat now that no, he would have not. I'm putting words in his mouth. The three of you would be getting pats on the back and hands being shaken if you'd give them, and you'd be particularly thanked profusely. Whisper.
After inspecting just the second batch and making sure that everyone was, as healed up as I could do for them, I would actually walk back to Ghoul Ripper and say, I believe mine and my companions' debt for not being robbed is now repaid.
Debt for not being robbed?
Because our whole thing with convincing them not to rob us and kill us was, no, we can help.
Yeah. And he's a bit like, looking around the room, just like, without question. Yes.
Very
you
well.
will, the three of you will stay the night with us, if you wish to. Or must you be on your way?
I will just look at Vanessa and Hazim.
Well, travel at night is dangerous. If you don't mind us staying until morning, at least.
Absolutely. No, you are most welcome here.
If you don't mind me asking, if a raid does come, does it come during the night or do they come during the day?
Now is a difficult time. It's early enough in the month that it's hard to tell what is happening in Lakar. Everything depends on two things. Well, three. How bored the guards are. Is there any need for them to be travelling through Silbervass? And does Drakov have any grand new tactical scheme that involves using us as meat? This early in the month they may still be recovering. They may still be celebrating and strategizing and too busy to consider us. Or if it was an easy month for them, they may want some sport. It is always a bloody month when this Irina is stationed in Fort Watton. Things have got better in a morbid way since Eri fell. For now, if she is not here, she is in Lekar, so she passes through less often. But Eri is utterly lost.
Eri is another outpost or a town. Correct?
He seems like a little taken aback, but you don't. Yes, sorry. Along the road, when you left Fort Watton and came to the Tivelands, you would have had a left and a right, yes? And you came left and brought you here.
Yes.
To go right would take you over the southward, south of the Tivelands and the Heart Soil and Morfenzi, and eventually would have brought you to Eri. amongst other places, but there is nothing but the undead now in Eri. The town fell and they do not leave. They remain content.
Do they control the fields now, the tidelands?
No. This is a ways beyond the extent of the Tidelands, which are guarded from Morfenzi. Your crop is everything here, of course.
Do the undead typically leave once they have washed through a city?
When there is no meat left, they wander to find the meat.
Yet they stay at this
They do,
area.
and exhibit unusual behavior.
Is this a recent development?
I have not seen it anywhere before, but I know that those in Morfenzi, whenever I was stationed there, always maintained a keen interest in what drives the undead and could it be controlled, could it be tamed, what are their motivations? The motivations are simple, meat, except recently at Eri.
You
Well,
are the first I have spoken with that has been willing to even admit that there may be additional motivations for the undead.
Don't give me too much credit. I would have written it off until one of my best lieutenants, to use a word from a former life, for she is no longer with us. I trusted this woman with my life, and she swore blind to me. Through no jest, through no misinterpretation or mistake made, she saw an undead outside of Vieri, attempting to till the field. Attempting.
It must be hard to relearn skills once forgotten. We had our own encounter with one who attempted speech.
It was like a shudder from a couple of them.
And carried a bag of belongings that seemed precious to it.
And we think that the bag might have been, well, they might have made the bag themselves.
What way of putting that?
What?
They had recently taken up crafting.
The most terrifying thing about zombies.
Made
getting
the
into
bag
macrame. It's gonna be-
themselves.
Yeah. You're gonna use intestines for macrame. It's gonna be great.
Oh god. Like these beautiful plant holders.
They're opening Etsy stores now. It's wild.
So what, they can weave, they can craft and tailor.
It is unclear what all they can do.
What did it say? You say it spoke?
We didn't understand what it said. It might have been its own language. It might have been just trying to recall its common tongue, but its mind had degenerated so much due to decay that it just was forming these words that maybe it was just doing it on instinct, on action, and not real thought.
At one point it seemed to be trying to say a name.
What's the name?
Shit, DM, I don't remember.
Both, you make me an intelligence check, both of you.
I knew it at the time, but I don't
You did.
remember.
I remember that you did.
Yeah, I mean, she would have written it down in her book, but it's fine. she's also talking.
She
so-
has
intelligence.
she has been journaling quite a lot, hasn't she?
Yeah. It's
Oh,
gonna be 16.
yeah, Vanessa. You have heard enough now that I would say, given all the information that you've had so far, you probably would have drawn a conclusion. The thing that the undead kept sort of crying out or noise was Harry, Harry, which you perhaps
Oh.
might now connect as possibly being airy.
It sounded like it was trying to say airy.
I was
Perhaps
thinking Harry this whole time.
that was my plan.
Airy.
But when you got back to Fort Watton and Captain August mentioned the airy, I was waiting for you to be like,
Nope. I was
Fine.
too stuck on the name of a person,
that's
not
fine,
a place.
that's fine. So Ghoul Ripper just gives a bit of a, it seems you may have, oh no, you haven't, that's DM knowledge, not player knowledge. What became of this speaking undead?
My face will darken, and I will just look over at Vanessa and Hazim, allowing them to explain.
Should we tell him the truth? This is the question.
Vanessa says out loud.
Yeah, exactly. Why is everyone looking at me? No. The creature was unfortunately slain. Irina, her and her men. Well, they didn't. They saw it as a piece of meat, a piece of undead that needed to be exterminated, and so that's what they did.
Make me a deception check.
13.
He just sort of looks at you as you tell this and then just gives a long and just thumbs at the edge of his mouth while he's thinking for a moment and just looks you up and down the nest before sort of giving a bit of a slow nod. That is unfortunate. Most unfortunate.
It is.
It seems there could have been wisdom to have been gained into all of our fates if only it hadn't been killed.
Well, to be fair, I think it was dead already, but Irina and her men, her soldiers, they don't care. The undead is the undead. We tried to explain to her what we saw, but it didn't matter.
Did Gerald know of this?
Girl?
Gerald. Oh, sorry. Captain August.
Realized he had a name, a first name rather.
Old habits,
I
sorry.
would assume he did. I mean, Irina directs reportedly to him. And,
Then if word
reports
makes
directly
it,
to him.
if word gets to Morfenzi, the mad dog may be in trouble. I imagine Drakov would not be happy to know that such an opportunity was not capitalized upon by the doctor.
I'm sure she had her reasons. However base they may be.
Was her mouth frothing? Just sort of like half smirks towards you. Whisper. We'll feed you and give you whatever you care to drink that we have. These children should rest now. And we can talk more in the hall. Yes?
Yes.
And as
Yes.
you see through the window slit that the sun is starting to go down when you are escorted with sort of a few more pats on the backs and mutters of thanks through to a sort of dining hall area, and that is where we will take a 15-minute break. So yeah, we'll be back in 15 for a little bit more. We're back, and I've gone wonky during my break. Don't know how that happened. There we go. So, what'd you say?
I said sus.
You throw me with that now. Yes, the children are healed. The staff, like it's a hotel. Yeah, the guards, the bandits, for lack of a better word, even by their own admission, are immensely grateful, and you are invited to spend the night. You are taken through to a large-ish hall with 2 heavy wooden tables and benches. The hearth in there is completely collapsed and caved in from the structural damage, but you see there are, in 2 of the corners that don't have doorways, essentially like brick fire pits have been assembled with rubble from the collapsed castle, collapsed guardhouse, and although they're not lit yet, they are starting to be, prepared for lighting. Seeing you look, if you look over, the Ghoul Ripper is like, we only light the fires after dark, and only in certain locations. The smoke betrays us more than the light.
It's very smart of you to do that. DM, so is everything basically concentrated in this keep, like the infirmary and like mutual living quarters? Is that
how do you mean concentrated?
Well, so like we went to see the infirmary, for lack of a better term, and that was in the keep, right? And so do people seem to occupy this keep mostly, or do they spread themselves out throughout the abandoned buildings and houses?
I see. You don't know.
Well, I mean, I would have been looking on the way there.
Yeah, well, you saw people in houses glancing out at you. There are definitely people who were inside other buildings, but this is by far the largest concentration of people. If this were raised, it would be explained that.
Shame.
What?
I said that would be a real shame if it was raised. Ghoul Ripper.
Yes.
Ghoul Ripper.
So he looked at you. Yeah.
Hey.
Wait, Gauzy.
Oi. Ghoul. So this keep, for lack of a better term, is this just your infirmary? I mean, this seems to be a general community space, but what do people occupy the old houses too?
It's effectively being on patrol. We'll station people in choice buildings throughout the town to keep an eye out for any of Drakov's forces. We have groups stationed hidden off the road to the north and south, as you found out, to alert us of anyone on the way. Whilst and a couple of them are in my room, so about their own business now, whilst these waylaid you. A runner came and alerted us here. So by the time you were brought back, we were already ready to bolt. The keep is useful to maintain a presence in because there are a couple of old escape routes, tunnels. But don't go further. It's better than being caught surrounded in a cottage in the town. While Strakov sharpens a stake for you.
The people that come here, how do they end up here? At what point? I know that you say you are none of you loyal to Drakov, but what are your quarrels with Drakov or the military in general?
Life here is not how it should be. People... Drakov sells it as being necessary for the survival of the whole against the undead. But she's empty. And cold and calculating. And every time that her extreme measures stave off the undead for another month, everyone left behind is a little less for it. Things that she does, the things that I did, and that he did, and that she did. Many of us served. Many of us were talons or were guards, fought in defense, but the soul gets sick of doing so many terrible things. And of course, it is easy at the time to say that you've been doing it for the defense of all Falkovnia. And what is the life of everybody in Lekar City against a wagon of travelers or a small village? It's an easy lie to tell yourself at the time. Now, I cannot. Each of us broke in our own way. They call it desertion. But any one of them would turn on another. I did it. The smallest inconvenience. Stealing bread to feed a family? Theft. Theft from Falkovnia. How can we succeed against the undead if we fall to lawlessness? Impaled. For stealing a loaf of bread. I've done it. I've put people to death. For crimes just as petty. But there's no point giving up everything for survival like that. If it comes at the cost of the spirit of being alive. They're not alive in Lekar. They live, but such cold, frightened little half-lives. Any and every one of us could be killed tonight. By the undead, or by Drakov and her dogs, by Irina. But we will all know that we've been good to each other. Even at the end. Even if it took some of us far, far too long to realize it. We'll know that we've begun. We will die having lived. Does this make any sense to you? Who have come from beyond and never had these woes?
We've had woes, but different sort.
There are always walls in the community, but there are stories from long ago, my people, that are very similar. So I understand what you were saying.
When's the last time that you saw Dracov?
From afar, I saw her maybe 4 months ago. She was riding. The last time I met her, about 5 years.
What was she
5 years, 4 months, 2 weeks.
Great memory that you have. Where was she riding to or from?
Morfenzi. She's riding to Morfenzi from Lekar. The doctor had something to show her. She probably rode out there to see the state of his research.
Have you ever met this doctor?
Oh, yes.
What we've heard of him has not been, he seems to be very peculiar in his interests and his mannerisms.
He is a fascinating man. He has a mind that works like no other I have met. And yet, I fear he may be utterly broken and dangerous beyond comprehension. That is a mind that would sacrifice anything on anyone in the pursuit of knowledge. Even Drakov would not be left alone with him.
What is their history together? How was he appointed to such position with her? Even if she doesn't trust him.
I have heard that he is her brother. I have heard he used to be her lover. I have also heard that he came, much like you, perhaps, from beyond the mists, a great deal of time ago.
Morfenzi had an assistant, someone named Strahd. Is this someone, are you familiar with him?
Yes, I've met Strahd.
What of them?
What of them? Why is this a name that rings out to you? He's a nobody, a laboratory assistant.
We have reason to believe he may have information as to why the three of us are here.
Anything could be true, but that seems unlikely.
Unlikely as it sounds, it does seem to be something that is of interest to us, but if you have no other information, that's quite alright.
He was friendly enough, unremarkable, never caused problems with the guards, never seemed particularly to excel for the doctor, was just one of many who worked away there.
What did he look like?
Well built, scruffy beard, hair to about shoulder length. All things that could change.
Blonde or brunette?
Brunette.
Just making sure. Well, in any case, he's a person of interest to us. However unlikely he may be to have answers, it's still someone we are on the lookout for.
You won't find him anywhere except Morfenzi. I've never once known him to leave.
He is always at the lab assisting.
I was not stationed there all the time, but people would ride and head off, or would take a refreshment in what passed for a tavern in Morfenzi, or they were free to build a shack or a homestead around the village surrounding the manor which houses the laboratory. I never saw him do any of these things. I don't think I ever even caught him outside of the manor.
So what is the evening here like? You said that fires are kept low, or at least enough to brighten your paths. What else do you have?
Quiet drinks, but not too many. Maybe some cards. Quiet conversation. I'm afraid this is not like the whistle. No,
You mean the pecker?
wait, it's now the pecker, isn't it?
Yes, yes it is.
These places
The
come
bloody
and
pecker.
go. The bloody pecker. No doubt a hilarious honorarium to the Crimson Falcon.
You know, I didn't get that until just now. The owner there is the father whose life is on the line for this boy of his who the arena suspects has gone AWOL.
And they haven't killed him.
No, not yet.
Ah.
They have agreed.
How long does he have? How long is the game?
What was it, 2 days?
2 days. 2 days.
Was it 2 days? Whisper.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, okay. 2 days.
She likes to make people worry. No doubt he will be sat in a cell or allowed to sit in his bar, wondering, will it be as painful as all the ones he has seen? I have put enough people on the spike to know that it is.
If Kabal
He doesn't
and
look.
Kahab-
He doesn't look happy saying that.
Yeah. If Kahab didn't come here, and if he wasn't attacked by anything in between the fort and Silver Bass, where do you think he might have gone?
He could not have gone across this road. My eyes would have absolutely seen him. If it is not common knowledge of what is happening at Airy, he may have tried to go that way. How old was the boy, did you say?
He appeared to be in something in his 20s.
So he served, which means he knows the dangers of the hard soil, so he will not have tried to cross the Morfenzi on foot. So he's either gone to Airy, where if he went in, he is almost certainly dead. Or he may have crossed the Tivelands to the Zamaria Ranch, though I do not know why he would.
What is this ranch?
He's the
You
main...
know this ranch.
No, you did see in the distance some sort of farm type complex across the Tivelands, but no one has spoken to you about this yet.
Okay.
So, it is dangerous here to have a farm dotted out in the middle of a field. The farms are held together in somewhat of a compound.
Is this the farm that you saw the undead trying to till the fields?
No, that was outside of the area. The Tivelands, there are smaller patches of farmland, of course, but you've seen the Tivelands, you've seen the expanse. That feeds most of the land. It needs to be protected in a different way. So what business he would have had over at Zamyara, I don't know. Maybe a relative, or maybe he wanted to try and pass himself off and escape his desertion and work as a farmhand, though he could not turn up anywhere and not have. Everywhere is guarded. The ranch is guarded for what could be more important than protecting the source of our food, and the guards' shifts would change. Someone would see the boy. That makes no sense.
Whisper is going to... I'm not going to fight against Vanessa looking into this so hard, but I am just more and more believing that the owlbears must have gotten him.
And at the same time,
walked outside of the fucking
is Luke of the player getting more and more frustrated? the lies.
No, though I do, as a player, think it's funny that we may end up going to Aerie to try and find him. It's like super imaginary goose chase. The commitment to the bit.
I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it.
On behalf of Vanessa is very is admirable. But yeah, no. I just whisper. I'm just gonna look at Vanessa and I realize that she seems to be very hopeful that he's just ran away and we can sort this out. But I very much believe that he got eaten by those owlbears and now his dad is gonna pay the price.
Beyond that, I don't know where else he could have gone. It is unlikely he went to Gralloch House, for the same problem would apply there. The guards, everywhere is guarded. He will not have gone to Delmunster. He would not have gone to Willow Watch. He may have gone and decided to take his chances as just a lone man. There are said to be some out near the traitors who band together in small groups of 2 or 3 and eke out what sort of living they can.
Either way, Finesse, I do not think we will be able to find him in under 2 days. So I am willing to try if you are set on it.
I'm not. I'd like to use this opportunity to see more of the land and at least have a better understanding of where we are. And if we just so happen to find Cahab in the process, then, well, even better.
If nothing else, it does give us good reason to spend time roaming, looking for this person that we were sent to look for, wherever it may take us.
If you've been given 2 days, I would not tarry longer than that to return to the fort unless you yourselves want to be branded as deserters. Unless you're intending, of course, to not return.
Well, that is the question, isn't it?
How quickly does word travel from the fort to Morfenzi? I assume that it is by foot or horse that messages are passed?
If it's official business, it will be on horseback, yes.
So if we were to go anywhere else, Vanessa, I think we would either have to return to the fort and continue surviving, or get to Morfenzi before any word of us not returning reaches there.
That would take you 3 days, if you had horses. You may have the coat of the Morfenzi, but you lack their art, and so you must take the long way. And ride up past Willow Watch, and past Lakar, along the Watcher's Row and down the Hunting Way, until you reach Morfenzi from the north. You cannot cross the hard soil.
Well, I think we'll have some time to think about it, at least when Hazim wakes up, seeing as how he's been passed out this entire time. Old guy. In the meantime, we should at least settle in for the night. Again, I prefer not to travel at night if it's possible.
Oh yes,
I think
we're settled in.
right
And
there.
you see some like plates of rations have been passed around and a bit of a hardtack, but you can see someone's done the best they can with a bit of foraging. It's all supplemented by, there is a surprising amount and quality of small and modest sized fish.
Where did you get this fish from?
Silvervest sits on Lake Kriegvogel. Fishing is fair.
Well, at least not all of this land has been blighted.
Do you have a space for us to sleep for the night?
I'm sorry to say that... No. Yes, of course. The three of you can have... I am afforded a room, but tonight
We do not
it is a
require
free...
anything.
I won't hear anything else. The three of you will have my room. I could do with keeping watch for once, so I will stay out here with the guards. And you'd have seen walking around that it is very much like there are. If there is a space of wall where wall meets floor, if it is not a travelled path, there is a sleeping pile there. It almost looks like organised vagrancy. Just where you can fit a bedroll, you get a bedroll. People are just sleeping on them. Every room, in addition to its function, is also a dorm. But yeah, the Ghoul Ripper insists the three of you take his room. It's up to if you want it. You might want to split it. You might want Hazim to sleep out here with guards. I'm sure Hazim will be fine. But he either way, he yields his room out of insistent gratitude to you all.
With it again, Hazim's already asleep, so he's
Yeah.
fine.
Hazim has just been asleep, and he's in a T-pose in the infirmary asleep.
You know. Oh, I thought he just kind of curled up like a little foxball, just
Yeah.
kicking his feet while he's streaming.
Okay, I will. I mean, if he's insistent, I will allow him to lead us to his room that he's giving up. But I will tell him that I.
So you're heading
Unless
down for
I
the night
just
now,
defend-
are you? Because it's early dusk. People are somewhat surprised if you're heading to bed that early, or do you just want to say that small talk is made for an evening, or do you have your own? Do you want some privacy to talk things over?
I kind of want.
Yeah,
to talk
yeah,
things over.
absolutely.
It's more like, oh, we're so tired. We've been spending on the road.
Yeah.
We did all that healing. Now we need to go to bed early.
Yeah, then they are very, very happy to lead you off to his chambers, and he just takes a moment to like grab a couple of things. You see, it's not like the secret lead-lined chest. He gets like obviously a couple of shirts, and he gets like a shirt and things like that, and bids you all a good night. Takes an extra like blanket out of the wardrobe and like throws it down on the floor and wishes you all a good night and steps out. And it is but three of you.
Yeah, I imagine Hazim is just at the foot of our bed, just like, again, curled up, whimpering a bit.
He has actually contributed to the chat, Jack, but he has eaten all the children before you can. That's what he was doing in this quiet time.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. Good for him.
I'm going to sit on the bed and look at them and just say, what is our plan?
Admittedly, K-Hub, and by extension his father's fate, is not a high priority for me. I would prefer to not see him die for his son's desertion, or as you've said, maybe it was just a simple matter of beast meets man. But I think, well, I know my focus is on getting closer to Drakov, at least to getting into Morfenzi and figuring out if we can reach this Strahd person and see what kind of answers he might have, or at least give more context to the things that we found of his.
So, do we return to the fort, try and stay on good terms with them, and then hopefully be able to somehow make our way to Morvenzi? Or do we essentially run and try and beat any messengers to Morfenzi?
That is...
I doubt they will just let us go.
They won't let us go, no. And if Morfenzi is as secure as Irina and Ghoul Ripper have explained, then it's going to be trouble trying to get in ourselves. Maybe we keep allies for now in both areas, here and in the fort. Irina, despite your dislike of her, seems to still have an interest in you as a oddity. Something that I think we can exploit. I know, it's not fun, but...
If that is what you think is best, that is what I will do.
Well, it's just what I think. Unfortunately, Hazim has been passed out this entire time, so I'm sure he'll have opinions when he does wake up. But for now, we'll stay that course unless he has other thoughts. But really, what kind of thoughts would he have?
What are the chances there's a raid tonight?
Well, he said the last one was a few weeks ago. Irina seems to be still at the fort. She said nothing about having any time off or doing any kind of traveling. So I hope that our chances are slim for that. If there are, though, we'll have to be prepared to hide, I think.
I'm going to glance at Hazim. Do we think that is something we are capable of?
Hiding? Yes, I think we're very capable of it. I've seen you burrow, and I can get out of sight if I need to, and I'm sure Azim is pretty skilled in that regard as well.
While hearing others undergoing the raid, I would be surprised to see Hazim hide.
I would be too, but we have to think about the triad. We have to think about our lives here and what's best for us. These people... I can't speak for either of you, but I'm no hero. I didn't even choose to come here. And while I pity the suffering of anybody who doesn't deserve it, and I don't think these people do deserve it. I think that Irina and, by extension, Drakov are cruel people. I think we have to play this smart. Getting on their bad side keeps us, or at least makes the journey to getting more answers much harder. These people have been very helpful here at Silvervoss, but they don't, at least as far as I know or can tell, they don't have keys to our success. They don't have the keys to us getting more answers.
I believe you're right. And even if we wanted to help the people of this land, we would not do so in such small ways. Not anything lasting, at least. If we are to return to the fort and attempt to play all sides in order to survive and make it to Morfenzi so that we can find answers, then I will support that plan.
I think it's the best that we can do until we see a clear path to where we can get out of here. At least get to Morfenzi, if not Lakov. And I think just keeping a low profile as best as we can, at least keeping as many friends and allies as we can in the process, will serve us in the long run. However long we end up staying here.
I agree. Do we think we should...
Oh, I was just going to say, what does Vanessa pick up from Whisper as far as like when she says agree? Is she doing it begrudgingly, or is it like she understands?
No, this isn't so much like with the undead person that we handed over. It's more just my instinct is to hide and run, and yet there's nowhere to hide and run to here, really.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more like I have the information that I have, and I'm trying to piece it together as best I can, but ultimately I am just placing my trust in staying with the group, whatever that may be. So I would like to help these people, like ideally. However, I understand that so much of it is not only my fight, but definitely not even something I can attempt to influence with such small piecemeal actions in any sort of like real lasting change. So yeah, at this point it's like we need more information, we need to survive, so stay with the group, stay alive. I rhymed by accident, I didn't mean to.
Save the Strahd leader, save the world.
Yeah.
Whisper, please make me a wisdom saving throw. You can do so
Jesus.
at a +2 thanks to Knights of Castania.
Okay.
Why
am I doing this? Fuck. Okay. +2.
I mean, if this is a
everything's
save against Azim
fine.
farting in his sleep, it shouldn't be Constitution.
18.
Looking around the room, settling in, tired. There is a moment where, at the corner of your eye, you feel like you just see a tall, long, black, shadowy figure. And as soon as you sort of notice it, your attention fixes on it for a moment, and the red, glowing eyes, and before you can even focus on it fully, it was never there. It was just almost like movement in the peripheral vision for a moment. Vanessa saw nothing.
It was black and shadowy with red glowing eyes, though?
Yes.
Whisper? What is it?
I just fear that we are constantly, barely outrunning death.
Oh, on the plus side, if we die, there's a good chance we'll get back up. As morbid as that is.
Perhaps we can become farmers in Aerie.
Make handbags.
Quiet life.
Yeah. A provincial life. We'll make handbags, we'll churn our own butter from zombie cows.
I'm so glad you went that way and not Chumbawamba. I really thought you were heading towards Chumbawamba then. No, I'm so happy. I get knocked down, but I get up again.
I got
So
Whisper's gonna stretch and look ready for bed though. Like after this talking. I mean, it really actually was a long day, so I am thinking of joining Hazim in sleep. Do we need to set a watch?
Perhaps. I was just going to go for a walk though, just to kind of get a better sense of the surroundings, the village. But when I come back, I'll let you know, and then maybe we can do a bit of a watch.
Okay.
And,
I will just kind of settle in and try and stay awake until you get back.
Yeah. I assume that this talk, we would have maybe talked a bit more, and like it's gotten later into the day, or even into evening. No? Or maybe yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So heading out, noticing that it's much, much later in the day, and it's now clearly in the evening. I assume that some of the fires are lit.
Yeah. It's definitely, the lighting is poor compared to like any actual inhabited stone building you would ever gone around. You see maybe 1 in 5 sconces is lit. There is the expectation quite quickly, not that you're concerned, that you are effectively seeing by low candlelight getting around. You could easily, and the clear thoroughfares have been brushed of all rubble. But to the outside, you would struggle to see this being lit looking through. There are no big, roar and fires. Everyone's very much sort of around a little bit in the dark. But yeah, some are sleeping. You can see there is obviously an established and efficient shift sleeping system. Mm-hmm. You would quickly gather that unless someone was able to fit through the arrow slit of your room, you don't need to worry about being involved in the air. And there's clearly no expectation that you're taking a shift.
Okay. Well, Vanessa's going to keep to the perimeter until she gets to the keep. And once there, she's going to head to the infirmary. But as quietly as possible, even if it involves her climbing up and scaling the ceiling. If there is a ceiling anymore.
Okay, maybe a stealth check. With advantage as it is dark, and because no one has dark vision. Okay.
It's a dirty 20.
Yeah, you make it to the infirmary.
As I get there, I kind of scale down the wall very quietly, and I see the bed of the young girl with the red hair.
Well, so if you were to go into the infirmary,
yes,
you would see there are quite a few people in here now. A lot of sort of family members have come to bed and are using this as like a family bedroom for quite a few. There are parents who are obviously up late with the emotion of the day and their children being sort of healed. There are sort of quiet stories being read, and you will see that this young redhead girl is included in one of these. She is sort of fallen asleep, sort of half draped over another child, in a bit of a cuddle puddle of some stories being read by a couple of parents. In addition to the kids that are in here, there's maybe also about 9 adults in here as well tonight.
How How big is this room?
Sort of 30 foot by 20. It's got a I forgot my name. A curved wall. If you want to be the turrets. Shit, there's a word for it, and I've forgotten it.
So as she's standing, keeping herself close to the wall, looking over at this child, seeing the group of people who are congregating and reading and having, kind of winding down for the night.
And a few of the kids and most of the adults, would have given you like a nod and smile of recognition. The little girl would have given you another little wave. You are one of the helpful people who's turned up.
Okay.
So yeah, you are welcomed.
So she'll sit down. If the girl that the redhead that she'd seen earlier is awake, then she'll just sit down on the bed beside her. What's your name?
Maxine.
Hi, Maxine. Are you here by yourself? I don't see you with anybody.
My father is in Lekar.
Is he planning on coming back here, or does he know you're here?
Ghoul Ripper says we don't know. You can see she's sort of like interested by you, but is perhaps more interested in the story and keeps sort of drifting back to the story and like answering your questions.
She doesn't say anything. She just keeps sitting there and stops talking to let the girl, who's clearly more interested in the story, roll over and listen to the story. But as she rolls over, there's a moment where Vanessa just kind of takes off one of her gloves, and she just kind of looks down at her palm and sees the twitching, throbbing mouth there, the blackened fangs kind of chittering to her, and she reaches out towards the young girl and, not touching her, just kind of strokes the back of her hair, and she takes her wrist and closes her eyes and focuses, holding her fist as tightly as she can before putting on her glove and looking back at the young girl again. And do I wanna?
What's that? Oh, sorry. Did you say, do I wanna? Did you say?
Do I wanna?
Okay.
So I was gonna say, it's been a few days since she's eaten. And there's a lot. There's enough people around that if she did something and girl ends up dead, it's pretty safe to assume that.
At this level, yes.
Yes. All right. Well, she will look at the others and just. There's a moment where she looks at the young girl's red hair, and it reminds her of her own. And she's sitting on the edge of the bed. She has this moment as she's put on her glove that she remembers listening to stories at her house. Most of them were told by the governesses who would work there. Med, I'm tempted. Don't you know it? But yeah, she just has kind of like moments of looking at the fire, looking at the girl's red hair, and then looking at the one of the mothers who is reading to the other children, and she's trying to use that as a means to control herself, essentially. And so I am going to actually make a wisdom save to see if I can control it, if that's okay.
Yeah. Self-imposed consequences rolls, always up for that. Oh, Mad has given you a +2 to this roll.
Ooh.
You imposed it on yourself. You tell me how you're feeling.
I mean, she's smart, so I'm actually going to use the inspiration to see if I get a better roll. And that is another...
That would also be a +2, given that it would have been rolled at the same time.
Let's go. So, sorry, Luca. As she is trying to steel herself, the sensation, the aberrant whispers that she hears when she gets into the space just become overwhelming, and she looks over at the center of the room, and her eyes go black as she casts darkness over the entire room. And I'll just go ahead and throw that out.
It would be ill-advised and impatient.
And as all of the lights in the room go out, and as everything is blanketed in darkness, she almost mindlessly peels away her glove and slips her hand underneath the back of the young girl's shirt and just places it on her, like on her back, but where her heart would be, and just begins to let the mouth do what it does. Her hands, the veins in her hands become blackened and start to throb and crawl up her neck, and as she continues, she is trying to, I mean, the girl's sick, so I don't imagine it's going to take too much effort to drain her, but yeah, she is going to withdraw the life out of this young girl, and immediately as she gets her fix, she snaps back into this more rational state, and realizing what she's done, she takes her hand back. She looks out at her hand. She's muttering to herself very quietly, "No, damn it!" And looking around, she sees everything blanketed in this the darkness spell. She puts her
Remind me,
glove
can
back
she
on.
see through it herself?
No, but she was sitting right next to her, which is why.
Yeah, because obviously there's a couple of cries in the room as it suddenly just plunged into darkness. As adults were sat there reading books with sort of like cries of the children start crying in terror as this sort of happens, and parents shouting alarm. So in this dark shroud, you do hear like the door being flung open, and there are sudden like footsteps in the room, but they're very unsure, confused footsteps. There's obviously chaos going on here at the moment.
Yeah, so at this point, Vanessa's obviously feeling the pressure, and she's going to go ahead and do her best to sneak out as quietly as she can to go back to the quarters that were given to her and the others.
Make a stealth check with advantage. Over the table, are you considering, out of character, the fact that Vanessa will conspicuously have been gone from the room?
Again, that's why I did the wisdom save.
Yeah, okay. 15. Yeah, you don't encounter anyone as you escape out.
And when she gets back to this to the hold, before she enters the same room that Whisper and Hazima are in, she stops and she slides down against a nearby wall, and she just looks down at her hands, just frustrating. She does that thing where she screams, but there's no volume, there's no voice that comes out. It's just this silent anger that she has, and not wanting to stir anyone else awake. She takes a moment, takes a couple of deep breaths, and stands up and kind of adjusts her coat, adjusts her posture, gets back into that very, very stately manner of being. And
as she's adjusting and just trying to regain that composure, you've been so restrained up until this point. What happened?
Stop.
Do you feel guilty?
I don't like being used.
I can take it back if you want. She had done nothing wrong. Would you like for me to bring her back? They don't know yet. But answer quickly. Before the alarm is raised, shall I take it back? I can bring her back. No one will ever know. Just say the word.
So she could end up like me.
Nothing of the sort. She's innocent.
When the voice calls her innocent, the child innocent of Ness,
Yeah.
her stomach just kind of sinks, and she closes her eyes and takes a moment to consider the offer. Do what you must. Just make sure it's clean. I don't want any more heat on either of us. Any of us.
There is no reply.
She takes another deep breath, adjusts herself, straightens her back, and very casually enters the room, quietly though, as to not try and wake Whisper. And
Walks in backwards. Hazim's like, "Where are you going?"
Yeah.
Nowhere. I'll stay here then. Yeah,
Who's
you
here?
find Whisper and Hazim. Well, you say Whisper was trying to stay awake, did you say? Or did you think she succumbed? Yeah.
I was trying. I doubt I succeeded.
Make a Constitution saving throw, Whisper. Above 10, you're awake. Below 10, you succumbed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are
I'm
both.
very much just like slumped over.
Yeah, they are both asleep. And anything else Vanessa does before she heads to bed herself?
No, she's feeling guilty is the wrong word for it, but definitely a certain level of shame, and I think because of that, she's going to go to the cupboard or the armoire that Ghoul Ripper had taken a blanket out of and see if there's another blanket.
There is,
And
yeah. And also,
she's gonna
Vanessa, you have the benefit of a long rest already.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
true. So she's gonna make a little bit of a pallet on the floor, and she can't sleep because of what has happened, and so she's just going to spend the night journaling and going through any other kind of materials that she has, just making notes. And
Yeah. And very, very quickly, because we do have to stop. But at one point, very soon after you've been in there, a guard would come into the room, just checking you're all accounted for. Something weird's gone on in another room. Nothing to be alarmed about.
is everything okay?
And he'll just describe briefly that everyone seemed to lose their sight for a moment, or some sort of something. They're not familiar with magic. He would describe in squib terms this sudden
Well, the
lack
lights
of
just
vision.
went out. That's all.
But then he would return to his business. And yeah, that is where we are going to leave tonight. A little bit shorter than our usual sessions. but real life happened and continues to happen. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us for a very sort of chatty downtime RP session. Thank you, Jack and Luca, for doing more than usual. We were one down. Thank you for stepping up with even more talk. And yeah, we will very quickly go around. I'm going to ask Luca to do hers first because I know that she has to go. So yeah, Luca.
Hi, I'm Luke Locke, and today I played Whisper, the shifter wild hunt cleric, and I regret going to sleep. And I have the next week off from any other streams, so just catch me back here for next Tuesday for Fragments again, followed by my campaign that evening, Harper's Variants. That's it for me.
Cool, thank you. Go. Over to Jack.
Jack, I played Vanessa. I didn't do anything, I swear. You can't catch me anywhere until next week, so I will see you all Tuesday.
Brilliant, thank you. I'm Harrison. I was the DM. I don't think I'm doing anything either until Tuesday, so all three of us are quiet until next week's Fragments. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you all next week, and until then, Quippy signing offline.